And how do you charge for the XRF? What are your fees?
That's
based
a
upon?
flat fee for remodeling projects. I can always get bills done for $250.
Okay.
Just, yeah, job by job.
No worries.
Oh. Good morning, everybody. Morning. Want to verify it's still morning? Feels like afternoon right now. My name is Bob Stigsell, owner of Advanced Health and Safety, and I'm going to talk about asbestos, interior demolition, select demolition, whatever you want to call it, and also a little bit on mold. So those would be my topics today. Doug obviously covered the leads, so we got all that taken care of. I'm going to, first let's start talking about asbestos. Let me get back to the tab that we want to start with here. Okay, so what is asbestos? So asbestos is a naturally occurring mineral. It's a rock, and it's mined from the earth. And they take this rock and these fibers out of the asbestos rock, and they make it into different building materials, basically. Okay. Over the years, they've made asbestos in over 3,000 different products. 3,000. All right. I've been doing this for I'm in my 34th year right now. I kind of hate to admit it, but it's true. I mean, it ages me, I guess, if nothing else. But in those 34 years, I've seen a lot of different asbestos products, but certainly not 3,000. But they do tell us that that's how many they've made it into over the years. On a regular basis, I would say probably when it comes to building materials, there's probably 20 or 30 that I see on a regular basis. The other things that we don't see so much is like firefighters clothing and stuff like that that's made out of asbestos that they don't make anymore. Asbestos is a banned material in many, many countries. In recent, like as in about a month ago, the EPA has announced that they're going to do more bans in the United States. I say this a little hesitantly because in the 34 years I've been doing this, every year of the 34 years, they talk about, oh, we're going to ban it, and then nothing really happens, right? This latest one that came in last month seemed to be more serious than any of them. But again, I'm a little hesitant to say, yeah, good to go, right? Because the government just doesn't move that fast when it comes to anything regulatory. Like in my world and in Doug's world, things happen rather slowly, okay? Not as fast as they should, that we think they should. But anyway, it seems like they're moving more towards a ban on chrysotile, which is one of the asbestos forms. So we have 6 forms: chrysotile, amosite, chrysotolite, tremolite, actinolite, and anthracite. So you might want to write those down quickly because those will be on the test today when we get done here if you want to get a certificate. I'm just kidding. I can't even remember. All right. So where do we find asbestos in our houses? A lot of places, inside and outside. All right, a lot of different places. On the exterior, just to name a few. Well, why don't you name a few? Where have you ever seen it? Siding. All right, thank you. Siding. What else? Insulation. Roofing. Okay, doing a good job. There's 3. Outside, what else? Caulking. Window glazing. Basement waterproofing. I mean, the list goes on and on, all right? Those are some of the places on the outside. What about the inside of the house? Where have you seen asbestos? Tiles, adhesives, what else? Flooring. Good. Mastic. Yep. Pipe wrap. Renee, where do you see it?
Oh, I said flooring.
Did you?
And
What else?
insulation, you want to say insulation.
I want you to sit. Yes. Vermiculite, yes. The bottom of sinks, light fixture insulation, linoleum. That's the one I always like to drive home because it's so often overlooked. Linoleum. I'm going to hammer this in a few minutes. Give me a second. Where else?
Popcorn ceilings.
Oh, good. Popcorn ceilings. Correct. Yep. Sprayed on texture, right? How about drywall? Drywall joint compound. Plaster. Of those 3, drywall joint compound, I'll bet you half the time I test it, that stuff comes back positive. Not in today's, but in older stuff from the, what, 50s to the 80s or so. Probably half the time I test the joint compound, you know, where on the edge of the corner beads, where they put that joint compound to smooth it out, or on nails and screw heads, they put that on. That stuff all the time in that 30 or 40 years, okay? Find asbestos in it. Asbestos was used back in the Roman times. They used to make their tablecloths out of it, and they would make it out of asbestos, weave it in the cloth, and they could take it over to the fire, shake it off, all the crumbs burn off, beautiful. That's what they kind of started using it for, and then they started finding other uses of it, right? And the peak of it was in the World War II area. So, you know, 1930s, 40s, and then up until about the 80s or so. But I always say, you know, even after the 80s, I found asbestos products in the 2000s even, okay, like in roofing mastics and things like that. So, used in a lot of different things. My suggestion is when you do a renovation, get us in there on the front end so that you know what's asbestos going into it, okay? That way you don't get into flooring and you're like, oh shoot, what's this stuff, you know, and then all of a sudden the project has to stop, we have to schedule it, things like that. If you can find out on the front end and get testing done, I'm a certified inspector to take samples, that's the best thing. I think Doug, you are too, right? You can take asbestos samples as well. So give one of us a call and get that stuff known going into it, so there's no surprises, no unanticipated costs and things like that, right? Any other asbestos things you can think of? Covered most of them. We said pipe insulation, we said ductwork insulation, or where they wrap the seams of the ductwork. Find that as well. Okay.
I mean, you have a cheat sheet right in front of you.
Oh. Don't tell them about that.
Oh, sorry.
All right, vermiculite. What does vermiculite look like? This is vermiculite right here, okay? Sorry for the little ad text and stuff like that. I couldn't get my little presentation to work, so I'm doing it.
Sorry, it's my fault.
Yeah, blame Gina. When things go right, I take the credit if they don't. This is vermiculite. This is an attic insulation, mostly in attics, okay? Sometimes in walls, but not very often. It's fairly rare to find it in walls. But attics, all the time. And I kind of said, Renee, with the, you know, being an attic insulator, they run into vermiculite quite often with, you know, different projects that they're looking at. And so the thing with vermiculite, I want you to make you aware of, it's an assumed asbestos product, meaning I am not allowed to test vermiculite for asbestos, okay? The reason is because literally if I took a bag full of vermiculite and I break it up into 5 different bags and I send it to 5 different labs around the country, they all come back with different results. Some of them say it's positive for asbestos, 2%, 5%, 10%, whatever. The other 2 or 3 labs might say it's negative, no asbestos at all. So the DNR kind of is like, we've had it, right? They said, forget it, nobody's testing vermiculite anymore for asbestos. It's an assumed asbestos product. Don't even send it in, okay? So if you call me, I'm glad to come out and do an estimate and look at it and verify and all that stuff, but I just am not allowed to take a sample and send it in to see if it has asbestos in it, okay? That's their position on it, and I think most states have now adopted that thinking when it comes to asbestos.
Have you looked at the vermiculite itself though and actually see the asbestos? I mean, I've seen several types of vermiculite, and some look more hot than others.
If you've done that, I have not been able to do it so far. Because a lot of times it's a very small percentage of asbestos. And a lot of times it's just in the fine powder at the bottom. Like, not so much in the big kernels, so to speak.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding what
Yeah.
that looked like.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the difference in the 2 types right there.
Yeah, well, so these 2 are fairly similar here. It's a little hard because they're not the best photos. But there's this one here that's the fine, I think, James, like a large and a medium, I think you're pointing out. Yeah, that's a good point. There's this fine stuff too. It looks like sand, very much like sand. The medium, I always say, looks like kitty litter, and the large looks like mica. Okay, there's different like shapes to it and stuff. But there's not to be confused with the trust fund, which I'll go into in a second, but there's a trust fund, I was gonna say now, that's out there, and a person can get 55% of the cost of the removal and the new insulation reimbursed back to them. Okay? 55%. It's a great program. We do it all the time. We probably clean out, I don't know, 1 or 2 attics a week, I would say, as our company does, all right? And the one that always qualifies is this medium sort of stuff that looks like the kitty litter. That's the one that always comes from this mine in Libby, Montana, that got sued for like $750 million, and they have to pay for people to get their vermiculite removed, okay? And that's the stuff we find it in. We don't find the fine sandy stuff and the large cart scale looking mica type of stuff. It's always in that medium stuff that's looking like a kitty litter. Okay. So that's the thing with the trust fund, 55% back for that. Okay. And just a little thing, looks like a before and after. When we do a vermiculite removal, we go and we suck it out with Versabax. We put it right into a dumpster, then we do it with HEPA vacuums, then we encapsulate the whole attic. Okay. Anybody's ever seen one of our jobs? Have you ever seen one? Okay. Pretty clean?
Yes.
Should be very clean. Yeah, we do a nice job on that. That's the 55%. You can talk to us on the side if you want on that stuff. I can talk about this for days, but I only have about 20 minutes. So, but just know that this program is out there. Okay. These are some other different asbestos products that you might find out in our asbestos world. Floor tiles, 12-inch tiles, 9-inch tiles, both. Okay. A lot of times people think only the 9-inch. No, not the case. 12-inch sometimes have it as well. All right. And the tiles and the masking. Glue, adhesive, whatever you want to call it. Especially if it's a black adhesive or masking. That's where usually has asbestos. This is a countertop, but it's also linoleum. They put linoleum on a countertop. Okay. A lot of people overlook linoleum. If you learned one thing today, linoleum, yes, can have asbestos. Okay. And when I tell people this, they say, "Oh, you mean the glue?" No, not the glue. The linoleum or the sheet vinyl, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I know there's 2 different terms, and I use them interchangeably. But it said in the backing of that product is where the asbestos is. Okay, I found some last summer, and it was 98% chrysotile asbestos. The backing. So what happens when you run a skill saw through a kitchen floor to tear it up, and this skill saw goes through, and you set the depth of the saw to be, 3/4 of an inch to get down to under the subfloor, right? What happens when you run a skill saw through 98% chrysotile asbestos? It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Yeah. So always get that stuff tested. Very important. Okay. Here's some more linoleum right here. Just different things. The one thing.
Hey Bob, you talked about how you did it in the insulation, getting that. How do you do it on the floor?
What? Say that again.
You talked about how you remove it, the insulation.
Oh yeah.
How do you do it on the floor?
So when it's on the floor, we have to put up critical barriers. We put if it's in a kitchen, for instance, we put critical barriers, plastic on the doorways, the windows, and all the vent covers. We cover everything. We put it under negative pressure, so we have a filter, big fan unit that triple filters it. So we're scrubbing the air, and our technicians who we're licensed, they go in with suits and respirators, and they use like a skill saw, and they'll set that depth of the saw to cut right down to the subfloor, and then they pry it up, and then wrap it up. Once they're done, we have a vacuum the whole entire area, and then fog it with an encapsulant, so that everything's locked down.
Fog it with what?
An encapsulant. It's like it comes in a 5-gallon bucket. Looks like white latex paint, thinner, and we spray it with an airless sprayer, but then it dries clear. So it locks everything down. Because no matter what they say, even if you take all the precautions in the world and you HEPA vacuum when you're done and all that, those fibers are microscopic. You're just not going to get them all. So when you encapsulate it, it kind of locks it down.
Is it the same product you use for mold and things like that?
Similar, yeah. Because we have a lot of different ones we use for mold. Some of them are inhibitors or mold killers and things like that. But yeah, it can be similar to that. But a little different. So, okay. Asbestos pipe insulation. All right. Just Gina found some great photos of some damaged asbestos pipe insulation. This is the ductwork insulation. It's the tape. They put it on the seams. Okay. How am I doing for time? What do I have till
11:15,
15?
so 10 minutes.
Alright, do my best. This is like an insulation, like a silver paper over the top of a light fixture. Now in today's world we use like an aluminum and it reflects the light going down. That's kind of the same thing, it's aluminum also, but that top part of it's like 85% crushed out of asbestos, a very high percentage of it. It also acts as a heat shield so that those light bulbs don't get too hot, like burn wires and cause fires, things like that. What we find up there. This is my roof patch cement that I bought at the Do It Best hardware store in Portage, Wisconsin in 2001. And if you turn around in the back, it says contains encapsulated asbestos. It just showing my point that it's not a banned product, at least up until a month or so ago. We'll see what happens with everything with that. But you can find it in newer products. So I have contractors that they're gonna do work in a house that's 5 or 10 years old, 15 years old. They call me, say, can we get it tested? Just wanna make sure, you know. And yeah, that's what the DHS and the DNR would also say to do. Some more asbestos products. We have roofing shingles right here. This is a house that we did. And the roofing shingles have like a transite cement board type of stuff. It's the same thing as siding, but they just shape it in a different form, right? Great roofing product. I mean, this roof was on this house for 105 years old. For 105 years, you know, I wish I had it on my house. I also wish I had asbestos siding in my house that lasts quite a bit longer. But there's some issues that are going on with that too, and that's why people remove it. Okay, it only lasts so long. Popcorn ceiling or spray on material. It's on drywall, plaster. All right. We just did a big project for a church dormitory, and all of their dormitory ceilings were sprayed on with a texture like that. We had to remove all of that. It was quite a lot of work. And here's the site. So that asbestos siding. You all know what that looks like, I'm sure. You drive on any town in Madison or Evansville or Mount Laurel, wherever. It's easy to find houses that have that siding, and even barns sometimes too. Right? Any questions so far? Yep.
If you test somewhere on a job site and are you required to report it to anywhere else other
No.
than?
No. If I do a test for somebody, it's a great question because I get asked that a lot. If I do a test, the only people that find out the results, obviously us, we're our company that took the test, the laboratory that did the analysis, and then we send that to whoever contracted us. Whether that's the homeowner or the contractor or whoever, that's where it goes. It doesn't go to the DNR, it doesn't go to the DHS, doesn't go to the City of Madison, anything. There's no reporting agency that we have to do it for. It's just a test between those parties. Great question. All right, so here's my, I think I broke a record last week in all the 34 years I've been doing this. This is 6 layers of linoleum. Looks like 5, but there's 2 layers right here. So 6 layers of linoleum, one on top of the other, stacked. There were no underlayments in there. It just kept going over and over and over and over again. I was like, wow, I think that's probably about the most I've ever seen in my life. So, I don't know, Gina, did any of those come back positive? I didn't see the results. I've got to imagine one of them. Or 2 of
I
them.
think there was 2 of them.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think it was right here and here, because this one was pretty darn old. Like it was put in when the house was built, like 1910, and it really didn't use a lot of asbestos in 1910. But boy, when World War II-ish came around, in the 50s and 60s, they kept going over it. That's where the asbestos was used. So that was something else there. Here's a sink. Tony, I think this came off of one of your jobs not too long ago. The bottom of this sink was sprayed in a black asbestos spray. Why? Because when you put hot water in a sink, and then you follow it with cold water, and hot water and cold water, and keep doing this as you're washing dishes, that sink's gonna sweat. But if they have this spray on the bottom, it doesn't sweat. So that's why they would use the spray on the bottom of sinks. That's what that is. There's just a removal project we were doing. We had a bunch of mastic removal from the cans spread out there, just to give you an idea. Analysis, we get results in 1 to 2 days. So I'm gonna take some samples after I leave here this morning for some people. We're gonna have results on it tomorrow, okay? We FedEx the samples to a lab in Virginia. We've been using them for going on almost 20 years. We overnight them on FedEx. They get there tomorrow morning, and the lab analyzes them the same day, okay? If a person was really antsy, really in a hurry, and it's holding up a project, we could get results by what, Gina? 9 o'clock? If we had to, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, the next day. That's really fast. They do have a lab here in Madison, the State Lab of Hygiene, but for the same price, it takes about a week to get results, so that's why we use the lab that we use. So just know that if you ever need things analyzed, we can get results pretty darn quick. Okay. Lead paint, we do
We're
it.
supposed to skip that one.
Doug talked about it. We do it if you need it done. Yeah. Mold, do it as well. We usually have a mold inspector that'll go in advance of us to identify problems and what's going on with it. But that is a service. Interior demolition. I don't have much time left, so let me just kind of quickly go on that. Interior demolition is where we go in, and let's just assume in this case there's no asbestos, there's no lead, there's no mold. It's just a house that was built in 1990 and there was nothing there, but the people want to gut the kitchen and take out the bathroom and things like that. We can help you out with that. So what we do is we treat it exactly like an asbestos abatement project. We put plastic on the doorways, anything that's an opening, we put plastic on it, we put it under negative pressure with the negative air HEPA filtration. Our people still wear the PPE because they're just used to doing that. We can go in and take the plaster off the walls or take the drywall off the walls. If it's an older house, we can take all the lath down, pull the nails, get it all nice, take the insulation out of the ceiling and demo it down to the studs. And then once we're done, we HEPA vacuum everything up, even the little corners. I mean, we get all the dust out of there. We spray with an encapsulant, and then you come in as the contractor, you rebuild and make it what it is going to be next. So it takes all that back-breaking work out of it for you and your company and your people, and especially when labor supply is short. That is a nice thing a service we can provide for you. We'll bag stuff up, put it in the dumpster. You come in, and you're good to go. So just want to make you aware of that service that's out there. We do that. And then the other nice thing is that it's dust free, right? So the old traditional, contractor comes in and say, hey, we're going to gut your kitchen. It's going to be a little dusty. Get Mary Maids lined up for when we're done because you're going to need it, right? Doesn't have to be that way anymore. We can do all that, and literally in the next room right next to it, 0 dust. Great thing. So, just let you know. All right? If you have any questions, call Gina.
It is true.
If she needs me, don't call me. No, you can call me as well. My cell phone, I think you have.
No, it's my card, so they don't
Okay,
have it.
Yeah. I'm 279-0866. Most people have my cell phone. If you ever have questions, just please call. All right? Don't feel like you can't. Sometimes people send me photos. Not sometimes, but every day I get photos from people. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Feel free to do that. I'd rather you be safe than not safe. If we get a job out of it, we do. If we don't, we don't. It's okay. I want to be of help to you, okay? All right. So, any questions?
Are you guys doing SRF testing too, or not?
Nope.
Okay.
That would be Doug.
Yep.
Yep.
And we refer to
I
Doug
don't
a
do
lot.
that.
Yep.
Yep.
What are the side effects to a homeowner? Let's say if a contractor chooses not to do any of this, what can happen?
Like ramifications?
Yep,
If a contractor doesn't do that?
in the home, correct.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they're breaking any of the asbestos or lead rules, big problems. Because, yeah, the health effects is obviously going to be, from asbestos, it's going to be inhalation.